φίλες, σας χαιρετώ. Ακόμη ένα podcast του OPEK Talks. Σήμερα προσκαλεσμένη μου έχω την κυρία Μελτέμ Ονουρκάν Σαμανί. Είναι η πρόεδρος του Κέντρου Ειρήνης και Διαλόγου και με την οποία θα συζητήσουμε τα πρόσφατα γεγονότα, 13.000 Τουρκοκύπριοι στους δρόμους, για το θέμα της μαντήλας στα παιδιά, για υποχρεωτική χρήση μαντήλας στα παιδιά των δημοτικών σχολείων και των γυμνασίων. Δεν είναι ένα απλό θέμα, είναι πολύ σοβαρό θέμα. Και θα το συζητήσω μαζί της στα αγγλικά. Ελπίζω ότι θα μας ακολουθήσετε έτσι, μιας και ο διάλογος θα είναι στα αγγλικά. So, Meltem, I want to welcome you. Thank you for accepting to come and have this conversation together. I just mentioned that you are also the president of the Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Center, and you're here today to discuss together the marching that started, this protest that started a few days ago in the north of Cyprus, and it's about the headscarf in children, but I know it's deeper than that, and I would like you to explain what's going on and how this is impacting the whole society, not only the Turkish Cypriots, but also Cypriots in general.
Yes. Thank you very much for inviting and wondering about the perspective of the Turkish Cypriot community, because yes, if there is a problem, it's the problem of the all Cypriots and all communities in Cyprus. So we need to empathize and understand clearly what's going on in the either side of the island. Well, the recent march and following mobilization is not just about secularism. It is deeply rooted in the decades-long existential concerns of the Turkish Cypriot community to safeguard its communal identity, lifestyle, and its right to exist as a distinct political and cultural agency. This is a core part of their collective aspiration to be acknowledged under international law as an equal and recognized community within the international order. Historically, Turkish Cypriots have developed a strong sense of themselves as a distinct political and cultural entity, separate not only from the Greek Cypriot majority, but also from the dominant influence of Turkey. Throughout the history of the Cyprus conflict, this dual challenge, asserting equality with the Greek Cypriot side while maintaining autonomy from Turkey, has profoundly shaped the community's political behavior and aspirations. The goal has always been to live free from domination by either side, Greek Cypriot majority or Turkey. In times when their political equality and partnership status with the Greek Cypriots were undermined, such as during and after the events of 1963-64, many Turkish Cypriots turned to Turkey for support and protection. However, when their distinct agency and cultural way of life came under pressure from Turkey itself, many began to see a solution to the Cyprus problem, whether federal or two-state, as the only way to reclaim their autonomy and safeguard their distinct entity. For Turkish Cypriot federalists, a bizonal, bicommunal federation with political equality is not only the most realistic path, but also the ideal one. It provides a framework for shared sovereignty while safeguarding each community's distinct identity. Federalists believe that coexistence is both possible and necessary for the well-being of both communities and all communities of Cyprus. Two-state proponents, on the other hand, tend to view coexistence under a federation as untrustworthy and unsustainable. They don't trust, they don't have the confidence that it would be sustainable. They see a close alignment with Turkey as the only way to ensure the survival of the Turkish Cypriot community, even if that means functioning as a de facto protectorate. However, this approach is not without internal tensions, especially when Turkey's interference begins to affect personal freedoms, lifestyle, even the local governance. This is a great tension and a problem. It is in these moments that federalists and two-state advocates can sometimes find common ground in resisting quote-unquote, external interference. Recent political developments, particularly the interference in the 2020 presidential elections for electing the Turkish Cypriot leader in 2020, have pushed the Turkish Cypriot ideal of self-rule to the brink. The pro-solution federalist movement has been significantly weakened. Federalists and two-state supporters now face a shared threat, the accelerating erosion of even the most basic forms of autonomy. While the judiciary still retains some degree of independence, and civil society and trade unions continue to defend the remnants of self-governance, this resistance is becoming increasingly difficult to sustain in the absence of a credible path toward a political settlement and solution in the island. The post-2020 interference has made one thing painfully clear. Without a fair, inclusive, and credible roadmap to a solution and a vision for a solution, even the final safeguards of local governance and civil resistance may disappear. This is a real threat. And this is why a jointly agreed solution is more urgent than ever, I believe. Greek Cypriot pro-solution actors now carry a critical responsibility to demonstrate a sincere commitment in three key areas. Number one is to show the commitment on the Guterres framework and as a package, but particularly power sharing and equally shared sovereignty in line with the Guterres framework. Number two, a revised peace process methodology, including a mutually agreed roadmap before the resumption of formal negotiations, because Turkish Cypriots strongly believe that even if the talks resumed, it will take another 60 years or 50 years with no results. So this time, this roadmap and methodology must be different in a results-oriented way to guarantee that we will have a settlement before the extinction of the Turkish Cypriots or replacement of the Turkish Cypriots with another population on the island. And the number three, the meaningful inclusion of citizens and civil society in the peace process from the very beginning is crucial this time. It shouldn't be left only to the two leaders to decide and continue in the way that so far for the minimum 30 years they are doing without a result. The Turkish Cypriot community is in need of being acknowledged as an equal and active partner, not just after a solution is reached. Yeah. But throughout the process leading to it, only then can we restore hope for coexistence, for a shared future, and for the dignity of self-governance that so many in our community continue to march for. This is these march and following protests and the mobilization aim, whether consciously or unconsciously. These motives are the behind of what's going on in the North.
And thank you for sharing this, because it's very important for everyone to understand the impact that is coming with what we see happening in the North with the Turkish Cypriot community. And as you said, what will happen if, because the tendency, what we see is like trying to replace the Turkish Cypriots. How do Turkish Cypriots feel about that? Because you are shrinking, right? Because there's so many coming from the Turkey now, like so many populations coming from Turkey. So how are you feeling, Meltem, into that, and how the community feels with that?
Okay, this is also another controversial issue, because it has more than one aspect to be taken into consideration. And one aspect, it's the human rights aspect, because it's globally these population exchanges and population movements and refugees are everywhere. So it's natural, especially under the conditions in Cyprus of the non-solution conditions, let's say. We don't have a political settlement and we are not in an international law as a whole of the island. This makes it accelerated way that there is no control power in the hands of the Turkish Cypriot community to control the population movement towards the northern part of the island. And even the rest of the world is the same, but it's of course increasingly getting more problematic in the north. So on the one hand, it is natural, we can say, because from 1974, it's 50 years now. So those population or people who came to the island 50 years ago or 40 years ago, they also started to feel, and their kids, etc., like Cypriots. So this is also their basic human right not to be excluded from this total population as the TRNC citizens. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, there are very newcomers as well that against to the local regulations or constitutional matters that are granted citizenship, while there are those who are waiting for citizenship of TRNC for decades and they are not granted any. So I remember during the period of 2015 and 16, 17, this Anastasia, this Akıncı period of time, that when this population issue came up, they agreed that up to the 2016, whatever the number of TRNC citizens, they would become the citizens of the bizonal bicommunal federation, new federation in there, because they will also supposed to vote for the referendum, for a yes or no vote, and their number was in a acceptable. I mean, it was founded by the acceptable.
I know that it wasn't that huge number, but it's also people that they've been on the island for more than 2-3 decades.
Exactly.
So
yes, but since then we don't know how many more are added on it. And every day that passage without a solution and settlement, it becomes even more complicated, of course.
And the demographics are getting at risk for both, for Cypriots in general. Okay, we understand the refugee part, and we are a country that we support refugees and so on. But on the other hand, you can tell whether this is happening on purpose, because this is the sense. I mean, the Greek Cypriot community feels like there is this tendency from the government to bring more and more from Turkey, more people, that they are in need as refugees, let's say, as such, but more to create a more solid, like Turkey community in the north that will be difficult, in a settlement. And I know that, as you said, the more there isn't a solution, the more we are, changing the demographics will be even harder later on.
Exactly.
For both. We will be diminished as a Cypriot community, right?
Yeah, without a solution and settlement, you don't have the tools, means, and modalities to at least keep the control in hand as a government. So up to now, Turkish Cypriot culture and lifestyle continued to be dominant, let's say. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But who knows from now on, because political Islam is also coming with the demographic changes. In fact, Turkish Cypriots are always respectful for the freedom of religion, or how people, they would like to live their beliefs and the religions whatsoever. But after observing what happened in years, the last 20 years in Turkey, they feel that they should be cautious more than ever, because now it's proven that there is a threat of political Islam that would interfere there, the secular lifestyle, not respect the secular lifestyle in return. And for this reason, they try to safeguard the cultural and legal and political safe bulbs and safeguards in their community. These are the tensions in there. Of course, in our legislations, the kids underage, they cannot wear this hijab or cover their hairs. There is no problem with the people who are adults. And even in the universities, even during the period of time that in Turkey, it was forbidden to attend classrooms, in university classrooms, as a covered way with hijabs. In Turkish Cypriot community and the universities, I was one of the academics who we were accepting them, and we were defending their right of choice, being covered or not. But this sounds different when it comes that the kids underage, that they are not allowed to marry, or they are not allowed to have a driving license, they are not allowed to do this and that, and then suddenly we say that they have the right of choice whether they should cover their heads or use the headscarves whatsoever. So this was a serious alert for the Turkish Cypriot community. From among the federalists, but also, as I mentioned, among the two-state proponents or the right-wing conservative segments of the community, or among those who doesn't believe in a solution in the sense of the BBF. They have other ways of models of solutions in mind, but they are also not very much supported this. But under the models of being a protectora, in a minimum polite way to say, it's a sub-government or sub-governance of Turkey. I mean, the north is like this. It's not easy that demand or claim for coming to power and then change the things. So in this respect as well, still Turkish Cypriot community, they tend to work for changing the current government and the attitude they are showing, which reflects as if an absolute obedience, whatever coming from Turkish government, whoever the government in Turkey, then they act accordingly. Yeah. And it's always easy under the colonies or the protectorates or etc. to find people to appoint to these posts. So even if you resist, then next election somebody else will come there to implement the decisions taking somewhere else. Yeah.
So that with the hijab, I mean the headscarf, was a decision coming from Ankara, and Tadar wants to implement it in the Turkish Cypriot
This
community?
is a very strong perception of the Turkish Cypriots. Yes, this is not something that the Turkish Cypriot government or the Turkish Cypriot leader would think or dare to take and change the legislation on this. So very strong perception is that this came from the Turkish government or the Turkish embassy there.
Can I ask also, what is, because it was 13,000 people in the streets. I mean, all the unions, and as you said, even people that they have different kind of perspectives about solution and so on, they were all united against this legislation about hijab and so on in children. So I want to understand what was the outcome of it? I mean, are they considering not to? But because I read something about that, something that Dadar said, but he's still into what he said. So I'm wondering if you are shifting because of the protest, if you manage to change that. And what is the impact on the community? You know, the fact that you are 13,000 people in the streets, I mean, are you going to be punished by Turkey about it? I don't know. I want to understand what's going on.
We are going to see soon because there will be another election.
Yeah, in October.
Yeah. Yes, in October. So let's see how this mobilization of the community and the forces, dynamic forces that already mobilized. This was an opportunity, unexpected opportunity arose, and then these marches and protests, maybe it would evolve to the demand of self-rule and change the government and the presidency, etc. So if this mobilization continue, we will see whether Turkish government or the forces among the Turkish government, Ankara, would find it worth to interfere again, as they did in 2020 elections, or not. I think this would also depend on the regional dynamics. Yeah, this is another thing that we shouldn't forget about. Yeah,
I think Turkey is more has the ambition to be an impact player in the Middle East. So it's and wants to be closer to Europe, and I think this can change. You know, like who will be the Turkish Cypriot leader in October if they want to be closer to Europe and get to find a solution for the Cyprus problem. I mean, both sides need to work on that because it's not only Turkey, but we know that from our side we haven't done any steps that shows our willingness also from the Greek Cypriot side. Mm-hmm. There isn't any, we haven't done anything since the presidential elections 2 years ago. I mean, our president hasn't showed anything at the moment as to, getting closer to start the negotiations again and solve the problem. So you're right as to what is happening around the neighborhood and the strategy of Turkey that is impacting October's election. But what is how people in the north feel about Tatar? Just wondering, do they feel like he's willing to go for settlement or no?
Well, election of Tatar is a result of the negative result of the Crans Mοντάνα. Yes. Yeah. So it's not a reason. It is a result of crashing the negotiations and the talks once more and facing the disappointment. It weakened a lot the pro-solution federalist circles, and definitely it doesn't empower the pro-solution federalist circles. On the contrary, it empowered the nationalistic and ultra-nationalistic circles there. Even Mr. Tatar himself was not expecting to become a president. I personally witnessed this, that in the conversation he was saying that he doesn't want to run, he would like to stay as a prime minister instead, etc. But later, suddenly, he found himself as the Turkish Cypriot leader in 2020 period of time. So all these are results of the non-solution conditions, and it would accelerate and exacerbate it day by day. And also I agree with you that Mr. Christodoulidis and Greek Cypriot leadership is not helpful to show this inclusiveness, because you cannot give the impression that you try to exclude Turkey from the regional dynamics and you are doing some backside work against Turkey with supposedly Turkey's enemies to make some alliances, etc. Similarly, from the EU, they should show more welcoming approach towards Turkey, because it's all of us interest to keep Turkey in the line of the EU or European principles and values and democracy and in unity, because it's a reality that Turkey is one of the forefront powers of the region, and if we want to coexist peacefully on this island, we need to learn to coexist regionally as well. We need regional peace as well. This was the case during the Annan Plan. That's why we had hope at that period of time. And these recent protest movements among the Turkish Cypriot community and the 30,000 people gathering to march reminded us the Annan Plan period of time. Since they had some prospect towards a solution, from various and diverse political backgrounds, people gathered and demanded this peaceful coexistence and the yes vote for the Annan plan. But they faced with a strong no vote from the Greek Cypriot community. And even if at that time as well, we experienced a governmental change. Again, it was UBP replaced by CTP, and today as well the expectation is the same. But what happened back then, when CTP came, they sent everybody to their respective homes, so nobody left at the streets. And we had to wait another decades-long period of time until the Crans Mοντάνα to have another opportunity to solve the Cyprus problem. But again, what happened in Crans Mοντάνα, the perception, again, strong perception of the Turkish Cypriots, it was again the Greek Cypriot leadership who was not helpful to take the last mile or to test Turkey's intention, at least in there. And we lost another precious opportunity. Now, maybe it's this time really last hope to have some light at the end of the tunnel. Because again, whether a governmental change or the change at the leadership, Mr. Tatar goes and pro-solution federal Erhürman or somebody else, because it's not clear who will be the candidates yet, but at least we know that Mr. Tatar and Mr. Erhürman, because they declared their candidacy, whether it would be Erhürman or Tatar, we cannot solve the Cyprus problem without the willingness, political willingness of the Greek Cypriot leadership as well. So we need two courageous leadership, and to guarantee this, we need the citizens and the civic society to be there as well, not as observers. Yeah. We need to agree on the modalities, how they would be an actor in the process this time, to safeguard the process not to crash once more and the last time. This would be the last, definitely. And again, a lesson learned from the Annan plan, if pro-solution circles comes to supposedly power or becomes the next Turkish Cypriot leader, let's say, and then again send the people to their respective homes, then it's like that this evolutionary, slow demographic and further changes would ended up becoming too late to do anything. Yeah, and too complicated. And we will start to most probably discuss other solution options, quote unquote, whatever they are.
And I hope that we will not be forced, because one is going to be forced, because usually Cypriots, and as I see, especially in the Greek Cypriot community, because we are not proactive at all, we tend to take decisions based on being under pressure instead of being able to plan it and execute it and so on. So as you said, I think that if we don't have two leaders that are determined to solve the problem the coming few years, 2-3 years, let's say, then I think we will be pressed from external factors to go for a solution that will, I feel like it will not be ideal for any of the two communities, but it will be what it is. And my last question to you, Mελτέμ, is there still hope in the Turkish Cypriots? Because as to solving the Cyprus, or they gave up? Because what I sense in my community is like there is so many people that they gave up. I mean, they don't believe that we will end up with a solution. After half a century, like not having a solution, it's like the hope, they gave up in my community. So I'm wondering what is happening.
Okay, among the Turkish Cypriot community, I can say that they don't have much hope regarding the bizonal, bicommunal federation option. They don't think that it would be possible just because they don't think that the Greek Cypriot majorities mean business about BBF. For this reason, they are also anxious about what sort of solution, whether it is cooked behind the scenes and outside of the people awareness or information. And as you have clearly said, the worry is and concern is that if there is something cooked behind the scenes and outside of the Cypriot communities, then minimum we will be unprepared, whether it is a good deal or not. And we know what happens when we are unprepared for a solution, mentally, psychologically, economically, whatever, to know. It will take time to understand whether it would be promising or not for the future, and this would create tensions. And in 1960 was also like this, and it lasted only 3 years. Or if it is not at all for the interest of the communities, and it would be for the interest of the bigger powers, regional or global, again, this is something that we should not allow to happen. But for all these things, in order to be hopeful or for BBF or doing something for new perspective, if there is anything, we need to combine our forces. I mean, the Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot civic society, even citizens with their individual capacities should show their commitment of and willingness to exist together. Otherwise, there is no point to be hopeful, of course. Well, we try in a diminishing way, because when I say we, it's the pro-solution federalist circles who are trying to keep political dialogue open. And as Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Center, I try to work bicommunally in every aspect of life, in every way, because I see the only way out, and we need to create spaces for the Greek Cypriot pro-solution people as well to express themselves loudly. So preferably we need to demand something jointly, ask for jointly for this. Otherwise, the Turkish Cypriot public opinion only would not be sufficient to change the dynamics. And the Greek Cypriot apathy, even among the civil society, because our perception is that the Greek Cypriot civil society or the trade unions or the institutions, they are not like Turkish Cypriot institutions and organizations who try to safeguard their autonomy, and they try to keep themselves distinct from the authorities. And
you are very active on that, and we admire you.
Maybe it's normal, because in our case, otherwise you would be extinct and you would not be even an actor or an agent, as I mentioned earlier. But in the Greek Cypriot community, maybe they have more things to lose not to lose their jobs or the promotion or I don't know, or they are comfortable sufficiently to take their time for another 60 years. And so they are not aware the risks. Risks that would cause to lose everything suddenly. Like we faced a couple of times in our joint history. No need to tell again this.
And I think what you said, that the collaboration between the two communities and the civic society is so important. But I think what is an obstacle there is the fact that we don't have transparency of the negotiations. And that's why together, as OPEK and Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Center, we have this common declaration together as to insisting of both leaders to bring into transparency the agreements of Crαν Mοντάνα, because we don't really know what they agree, what is there. So I feel like we need, in another attempt, we need to secure transparency. We need to push towards transparency so that people need to know.
Yes, we need different results-oriented peace process. We need a roadmap and we need a new methodology. And the number one requirement is that we need a transparent peace process. And we should start from now on. And number one, as OPEK and CPDC demanded very recently, the convergences should be published, because there is this confidentiality principle covering the agreed elements up to Crαν Mοντάνα. And this is not helpful because the communities need to know that in fact we are very close to an agreement.
Yeah.
And the body of work under the UN mechanisms is there on the table, and only 5-6 outstanding issues remained. And if there is a political will, as Mr. Guterres announced at the end of the Crαν Mοντάνα, it's possible to take this last mile. And we were also insiders during this period of time. And we know more than the convergences as well. We know that the joint understandings are there for bridging the outstanding issues as well. So I strongly believe that joint organizations and partnerships and coalitions of Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriot civic society should keep the communities and public opinions very well informed. Because when the time comes, like Crαν Mοντάνα, we need the power of the people to question there what happened. So yes, they need to know the convergences to be published. We know that everything in fact leaked to the press, but simultaneously there were contra claims as well, coming from sometimes directly the leaders or sometimes the members of the negotiation teams or the negotiators, formers, currents, etc., and confused people. If they are published and they are there, nobody can have the power to manipulate people. So this transparency is very important, but also we need to keep communities informed and remind them about the facts and realities of the past as well. I don't think that among the Greek Cypriot majorities they have a clear idea what federalism is, for example. Because how many times I hear that they regarded federalism like an abnormal.
Yeah.
They say we want a normal, we want to be a normal EU country, they say, as if BBF is abnormal. Yeah. We need to remind them that Germany is also a federation, Belgium is a federation, Switzerland is federation, etc. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it sounded like it's a simple basic information, but we need to remember and bear in mind all these. Another thing that they tend to forget is that this Republic of Cyprus is already a functional federation, is a federation, is a partnership. And where is your partner? Yeah. And another question that repeatedly should be reminded is that why the United Nations peacekeeping forces are still here after 60 years. Why did they arrive in 1964 and never left the island? Because this current situation is not solution. Yeah. They constantly, the UN Security Council, constantly call for the two community leaders to find a solution to their political problem diplomatic ways, not via violence or war or fight. So we are under the ceasefire conditions, and we need to find a peace agreement, a compromise agreement, and this is the Security Council call. They don't expect only the Republic of Cyprus to solve their problem. They call for two communities because Republic of Cyprus is a partnership. So the abnormal is the current situation.
That's true.
Not a settlement solution. Current situation at the Republic of Cyprus, it's not normal. And it's an anomaly. And it's not sustainable to continue long like this. And believe me, the price that will be paid, won't be only paid by the Turkish Cypriots.
No, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
so all together. If we lose, we are going to lose all together on this.
There are so many signs that we are already, experiencing the impact of a non-solution. And I'm glad that today we had this conversation, Mελτέμ, and thank you for accepting our invitation to be here today. And from our conversation, I keep three things. The one is that we need to be more energetic and more involved as communities, like civic society and let's say the people of Cyprus. We need to be more into that, but in order to be also, we need to force both leaders for transparency so that we can claim, this solution. And what else I keep is that we must not postpone further. We need determination and to go towards a solution soon. Thank you so much for being here today, and I look forward for our collaboration as OPEK and Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Center.
Thank you very much. I must say that OPEK and you, particularly Dr. Theanώ, gives us hope. Now, together we are stronger, and we have the responsibility maybe to conduct this information campaign together to provide informative messages to the communities of both sides.
Yes, this is our call, and this is what we're going to do.
Yes.
Thank you.